A dramatic strike on Syria's military headquarters in Damascus after days of clashes in southern Syria that erupted Sunday between armed Bedouin groups and Druze militias that has now drawn in the security forces of both the Syrian and Israeli governments, with reports that several dozens have already been killed.
Is deeply concerned over the continued violence that we have seen in the Druze majority area in Suwaida governorate in southern Syria, which has resulted in dozens of casualties, including among civilians. He is disturbed by reports of arbitrarily killings of civilians, sectarian incitement, and the looting of private property. He condemns all violence against civilians, especially acts that risk inflaming sectarian tensions. The Secretary General urges the interim authorities and local leaders to immediately de-escalate and to protect civilians, to restore calm, and of course to prevent any further incitement to violence. He further urges the interim authorities to transparently and openly investigate and hold to account those responsible for what we have seen.
The attacks marked an intense escalation between Israel's military and the newly installed Islamist-led government of President Ahmed al-Sharaa. Despite warming ties between Damascus and Washington, mere days after President Donald Trump signed an executive order lifting most sanctions targeting Syria, in the aftermath of former President Bashar al-Assad's toppling by a coalition of rebel groups in December last year.
We're talking to both sides, all sides of these, and hopefully can bring it to a conclusion, but we're very concerned.
The UN also expressing concern about Israeli violations of Syria's sovereignty.
The Secretary General is also concerned by Israel's airstrikes on Syrian territory and calls on Israel to refrain from violations of Syria's independence, its sovereignty, and its territorial integrity. The Secretary General underscores it is imperative to support a credible, orderly, and inclusive political transition in Syria in line with the key principles of Security Council Resolution 2254.
Syria's government troops were dispatched to the Zuwaida region Monday to quell fighting between Druze fighters and Bedouin armed men, but ended up clashing with the Druze militias themselves, as Israel seeks to justify its cross-border incursions.
We are also operating in Syria. We have an obligation to maintain the southwestern region of Syria as a demilitarized zone bordering Israel. We will not allow a return to a situation where a second Lebanon is being established there, and we are also obligated to protect the Druze residents. We are doing this through intense operations. I hope we will not have to operate anymore. It depends very much on what is understood and done, and also what is not done in Damascus.
As the UN warns of dire humanitarian consequences in Syria's south.
Humanitarian partners in Suwaida report that medical services are overstretched and that markets and basic services such as electricity, water, education have been disrupted. UN aid operations are still suspended in the impacted areas as movements along the main roads are disrupted, but we're mobilizing to be able to respond once again as the situation allows it.
The ministry condemned the Israeli strikes, calling it a criminal act that constituted a blatant violation of the country's sovereignty. It says the Israeli attacks came at a calculated moment aimed, in its view, at undermining its national stability and striking at Syrian unity at a critical juncture at which it is seeking to emerge from the aftermath of years of war. Syrian state television and leader of the Druze community have since confirmed that a new ceasefire arrangement had been reached after a similar agreement on Tuesday collapsed within hours. Sheldon Briceby's SABC News, New York.